Hello and welcome to the class where I will be showing you how to draw a Neuro-Lotus mandala to boost your self-esteem. This technique is a personal creation modified from the Neuro-Lotus algorithm. For starters, you're going to need paper that is best suitable for your coloring materials, which I will get into in a little bit. And then you will need pencil, whether a wooden pencil or a mechanical pencil, it's up to you. It's only for drawing, and you want a really light pencil, so nothing that is really soft and heavy, because you don't want dark lines. You want to be able to erase them later. So a light pencil like a 2H pencil or HB, or a mechanical pencil that's like HB with a HB lead, that is, or B lead, would do fine as long as you don't press too hard. You're going to need an eraser, and you will need a compass, and you will need a fine marker. Okay, you can use any fine marker that you like. This is a Uniball Air marker pen, well, rollerball actually. So you can use this if you like. Otherwise, you can use any one of the fine alcohol or oil-based marker, like the zebra ones that I've introduced. Try not to use the super fine liners, like the 0.05 mm fine liners. They're just too fine. But if you still like them and you want to use them, that's up to you, as long as it's fine and it's not too fat. Okay? Thick markers are not very good for this. Okay, and then you're going to need a really long ruler. The longest one you can find. This ruler I have here is a 50 cm ruler. Okay, it is enough to go across the diagonal edges of the paper from corner to corner, because I'm using an A4 size drawing paper. Now, with coloring materials, you can use any coloring materials you want or you like, but the paper that you use has to be able to take on the coloring material that you're using. Okay? So for this project, I'll be using the colored pencils. Brand does not matter as much as long as they can layer down. I find that this brand color pencils are quite reasonable for the performance that they give. So they're pretty decent, although they're not especially light fast. About half of them are not really light fast. If you want light fast colored pencils, they are really expensive. I do have a set of light fast colored pencils. They're really nice to color with, but they're really expensive. They're about, I would say, about 4 or 5 times the cost of this set of colored pencils. Also, you are going to be needing some markers or colored pens for your fixation and your field lines. All right? These are pigment markers, and they will go over anything and they will stand out. They're highly recommended and they're not very expensive. You can probably get some paint markers, pigment markers, or even acrylic markers. They'll go over anything. They're much better than the alcohol markers. You can also use the alcohol markers, but they tend to be a bit more transparent. Alternatively, you can also use these Uniball Signal pens. They're gel pens. The problem with gel pens is that over waxy surface, like when you're using colored pencils, they tend to have a bit of a problem sticking to the paper. So you might have to go over it quite a few times before it will start showing. But if you're using pastels, no problem at all. So these are pigment pens. They're pigment, so they'll show up on anything, even on black paper, or even your black marker lines. They will go over it and they will show up very well. Okay, so these are the materials that I am using for this project. Feel free to substitute any of the materials that I've mentioned here with anything that you like that is of your preference. You are also going to need a notebook. Okay, can be any notebook for writing down your statements. So to start off with the statement, you need to write down a list of things that you are good at or you are proud with at. Okay, so what do I mean by that is things that you're good at, that you feel that you're good at, or things that you feel that you are proud that you can do. Okay, so I'm going to put down here list of things I am good at or that I am proud of. Okay, so let me go ahead and say that if you have problems coming up with a list of things that you're good at or you're proud of about yourself, about me, okay? So because I'm doing this here, so it's about me. So when you are doing it, it's about you, okay? So if you have problems trying to think out a list of things that you are good at or you're proud of, start with how you physically look. And what I mean by that is look at yourself, think of yourself. Are you missing any of your five senses? Are you missing an eye or nose or a mouth, etc.? Are you missing a hand, a leg? Are you mobile? Are you able to move around? Or are you bedridden? Things like that we kind of take for granted. But if you're neither of those, like you're fully formed, you have all your arms and legs, you have all your eyes, ears, and nose, that's something to put down that you're thankful that you have all of that you can still do it. So that is something that you should be proud of, to be quote unquote normal in the sense of saying. All right, so you may not look as pretty or as good looking as someone else that you can think of, but at least you have you of who you are. Okay, go down that list. Okay, first is your physical looks. Do you have everything you need to survive? As in you are fully formed. You have all your arms and legs, you have all your eyes, ears, and nose. You have hair or you don't have hair, that's not really very important. Can you move? Are you mobile? The other thing I can think of is, are you bedridden? Okay. And then next, you start with what are the things that you are good at, that you can do, that you feel that you can do well, not necessarily better than other people, but that you can do well, that you can do, like if you're artistic or creative, things like that. Okay? Or if you have a dress that you're particularly happy with, or your t-shirt or a pair of shorts that you're very happy with, or you did a piece of artwork that you're really happy with, put that down. So I'm helping you out in trying to think of things that you're good at, or that you are proud of, or that you can be thankful for. Okay? You can also write down things that you're thankful for. What are the things that you're thankful for? That maybe you know the word of the Lord, or you have a great Christian community, or you have a great Buddhist community. I'm a Buddhist, so that's why I'm saying that. Okay, so why I'm doing this is I'm going to show you the process. I'm going to write 3 down, and then I'm going to show you what you do after that. And then from that point onwards, I'm going to go off camera. So let's say the first one I can think of is that I am artistic. Okay, so now I said I'm artistic. If I want to leave this way, because you're going to be labeling this later in your drawing, so you can choose to leave it this way, or you can choose to give this a short form like AR. Okay, 2, I can say I am very creative. With my hands. Okay, so when you see this, it's like, well, it's really long to put it down. So this one, you will have to make it in a short form. What you want the short form to be is totally up to you. Okay, so I can say CR. This is what I want it to be like. 3. So I can say that I am proud that I have a very supportive father. Okay, again, I need to shorten this. So another way of shortening this is I could say VSF. I can do that too. Okay, so hopefully this gives you an idea of how you can do this. All right, so what I am going to do now is I am going to go off camera and continue writing my list. And don't worry if you have a really long list. I will tell you what to do later. All right? So I will talk to you again. So the first step is to find the center of the paper. To find the center of the paper, You put your ruler diagonally from corner to corner and then draw a line in the middle of the paper somewhere, like really lightly. That's why you can't see it here. Okay, and then you do it the same from the other corner. And where the line cross is where the center of the paper is. Okay, and then you can erase off the lines that was drawn. There, you can see the center of the paper here. So now, you might want to get some scratch paper for backing, because you're going to use the compass to make the circle, guiding circles. Okay. So you want to make the first inner circle not too small and not too big. Okay, so something around, whoops. So something around this size is good. Okay, and then you want to draw another bigger concentric circle around the one that you've just drawn. Okay, so these are where your petals are going to be. Okay, again, don't draw it too hard. And then I'm going to draw another circle. Maybe about the same size. You just have to kind of eyeball it. Okay, you can draw another one if you want, but for this, I'm just going to do these two. Then, oh, I forgot something. So what you need to do is, okay, before you draw the outer one, or if you made a mistake like me, go back and try to get the correct circumference. Now, what you need to do is, on that circle, draw some guidelines. Okay, like this, with the same circumference circle, same radius of that circle. Okay, not another radius, because you won't get the same effect. If you use the same radius, you should be able to get 6 guidelines. Okay, and then you end up, the last line will be exactly where you started, where your needle first started this. See? Okay, so those are the 6 guidelines, and why I call them guidelines is because I'm going to be drawing the petals in later, so you'll see. All right, so first thing I need to do is draw the inner circle with my pen, freehand, just trace it. Doesn't have to be perfect. In fact, the less perfect it is, the better. Okay, just one round. Now, if you want to draw flower petals, okay, I have some scratch paper below me, so I'm going to show you what I mean. With the flower petals, because we are using the Neurlotus algorithm, you can draw your petals like that if you want, or if you decide to not do it, just do it this way and do it smaller. Okay, and that's why I have these guidelines here. So I've been drawing a lot of Neurlotus with these petals here, this pattern of the petal. So today I'm going to try this. Okay, and you can draw them skinnier too. You can do them like that. Okay, like a daisy. And you can decide how many petals you want around this. You go like that. Okay, and then and the reason why I had these here is so that it's a guide. Okay, so the next round of petal, like I'm going to leave a space here and then go back and fill it back up later, because I'm going to draw this petal here first, like that. Okay. Okay, your petals don't have to be perfect, like I said earlier. Okay, so now I'm going to just backfill the holes. So what I'm going to do here is, I know it's going to be here like this. Then this one is going to be here like this. Okay, if you have a little hole there, doesn't matter. We'll be covering them up later. So same thing here. Okay, so you have a full round of petals now. So, okay, so next round, you're going to be drawing your petals in this outer circle. So remember, I only did 2 rounds. So the next round of petals has to be a little bit bigger. You can decide the size. You can be like this big if you want. Okay, I am going to do something a bit out of the ordinary here. I'm going to make this outer circle a little bit smaller. So I think it's a little bit too big. Can erase the line later. Okay, so this is what I am going to do. Like that. Okay. Okay, I don't need the backing anymore. Okay, so ideally, you want to have the same number of things you have written here with the same number of petals you have here. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is in the middle here, you want to write your name or you want to write your initials there. It's up to you, your initials or your name. So I am going to put my initials here. Okay, and before I do anything else, I am going to erase all these other lines. All right. Now, next, this is where the interesting part comes in. So what you do next is you've written this whole list here. It doesn't matter if your list doesn't have, your list is not enough to fill all the petals. Okay, that is fine. Okay, and if your list is too big and you have not enough petals here, then you can do another round of petals and another one. And if you fill up all your paper and it's still not big enough, then you can draw another new one. So not to worry. All right. So as long as you have something to put inside all these petals, if you have not enough to fill up all of them, that is fine. So you can start with, like I said, that's why I give you the short form. So I start with AR. Okay, each one of these petals are going to be something that you've written here. And that's why I ask you to write a little acronym for it. Okay, give it a little code. So CR and then V.S.F. So I only have 10 here because I just want to show you how it's like. So you see, I only have 10 here. So I have actually more petals. Whoops. Well, looks like I touched my hand on the thing before it dried. So that's okay. The coloring will cover it all up. So I only have like 10 and it's not enough to fill it all up. That's fine because you can take your own sweet time after you've drawn this to start labeling all of them if you want. If you want to leave it as it is, like I have here, that is fine too. Okay? So for me, in this case, I got to make sure that everything is dry because I'm going to be touching this. Okay? I want you to put your hand into the middle of this and think about all these things that you've written here. It can be your right hand, it can be your left hand, it doesn't matter. Okay, I'm using my left hand here because my right hand is holding a pen. And I have to show you this. I could have done it this way too. That is fine. Whichever one is the one you want to use. So I'm going to use my left hand and then I'm going to show you this way. Okay, I'm right-handed. So it doesn't matter which hand you want to use. So do this and think about your whole list of things that you've written here. Okay? You don't have to go through all of that. It just briefly run through all the things that you've written, especially images. Okay? Imagine, picture in your mind one by one all the things that you've written down here, or that you've labeled onto each one of the petals. So do this. Okay? Imagine, picture each one of these. Do not censor yourself in saying that, no, that's not what it is. It is what that's come to your mind. You know, like for example, I say artistic. What is the first thing that came to my mind? So I see someone drawing. That it is. That is it. Okay? The second one, I'm very creative with my hands. Again, as I'm reading this, I see a picture of someone working with the hands. That is going to be the image that I'm going to have for this. All right? So you don't have to go through the entire list. It's kind of like you briefly reading as you go and the image pops into your mind. That's okay. Leave it there. All right? And then when you're done, you lift up your hand. All right? And then I want you to draw a spiral. Scratch paper here. Oh, well, I got new paper here. Okay, I want you to draw a clockwise spiral inwards. So you need to draw a spiral like that going in. And it needs to be tight. You know how I have this circle here? Well, that's why I need you to draw a bigger circle instead of a small, tiny. Okay? So your spiral looks like this. This is not tight enough. You want your spiral to look somewhat closer. It means the gap between the lines should look something like this. All right? So let's do this now. Do it slowly. Okay? Next, after you've drawn the spiral like that, and it reached the center, you might want to connect that. Because remember, you can't have hanging tails. So after you've done that, you go around your for now, okay, the outer circle here with neural lines a couple of times. The one where you started your spiral from. Okay? Go over it a couple of times. And then next, you want to draw neural lines stretching out towards the edges of the paper from here. From that circle that you have encircled with neural lines. Okay, anywhere you want. So this is where you can cover up those mistakes, like here. Okay. Just use your intuition wherever you want lines coming out of. Just draw it. And remember to breathe. And you will need to do your roundings for all your intersections. Okay, so I'm not going to do the rounding down. I'm going to leave it till the end. So I want to show you what you need to do after this. So I use black ink pen. So I'm going to use black ink pen to do my rounding later. But you need to get another color. Okay. Another color. In this case, I'm going to use this green. Okay. Why? I would recommend that you use green color because green is a color for healing. And this Neuro-Flower, it's about healing. Okay? So what you do is, remember that spiral that you drew? Go over it. Okay? Go over the lines that you've drawn. With neural lines. Okay, like this. And remember to breathe as you're doing this. Okay. After you're done with that, go over all the flowers with this green pen. Same thing, use neuro lines, go over all the petals. You can do your roundings, the black parts later. So I just want to show you this first. All right. Okay. Optional step you can do. You can also go over all the neural lines that you've drawn connecting from the center out with this as well. Okay, I'm not going to do it because I'm going to draw more black lines out, and I'm going to leave this as it is right now, like this, and then I'm going to be drawing more neural lines coming out of the center towards here, towards the edges of the paper. Okay, so the reason why I used a green pen to go over the entire flower, the Neuro-Flower Mandala, is because it serves as an empowerment for the entire flower. Okay, your Neuro-Flower. Remember, this Neuro-Flower is your symbol for healing. So it could be bigger, okay? It could be smaller, just one layer, that's fine too. So I just wanted to show you this so that if you go over this, because you already did the spiral gathers energy for you from the universe, okay? And then we connected the circle with the spiral to the rest of the universe with neural lines, integration with the universe. You draw energy and you draw inspiration and you draw strength from the universe, okay, into the center of this flower. And then now you are redistributing that energy to the entire flower by using this green pen, okay, over to all the things that you've written about what you're good at, okay, about what you are proud of, about yourself. This whole flower represents you. Can you feel that energy as I say this? Breathe it. And if you can't, put your hand over this flower, breathe it. Okay, maybe you can't really feel it now. After you're done coloring the whole flower, the whole painting, do it. Put your hand over this and breathe deeply. All right? So I will remind you again after we are done with this. Okay? So now I am going to crank up the speed of this video as I do the roundings and draw more neural lines. All right? So next we've come to coloring. You can color your Neuro-Flower any way you want to, as long as it doesn't look like a mosaic. That's always the very most important thing. All right, so I'm going to start coloring now. Okay, now that we're done with coloring, I am going to put in the few lines now. So for this, I am going to make a mix of following some of the lines and then breaking out on my own. So we're done with the few lines. So the very next thing that we need to do is, as I mentioned earlier when we started this project, when we're done with the whole drawing, put your hands on this flower. Okay, whichever way you want to do it, and breathe in deeply for 3 times. Breathe in for about 10 counts and do it 3 times. And we're done. So you should feel something after you've done all this, and you've done it correctly. You do it in one sitting. If you didn't do it in one sitting, before you do that last exercise where you put your hands here, go through your list of things that you can be happy about, you can be proud with. Okay, which means all the things that you've labeled in here. Go through that in your head, and then you do this. Okay, and most important of all is one little trick that I learned is, as you are going through that, I want you to trace the spiral inwards clockwise with your finger. Lightly touch it. Okay, now because I'm using oil-based colored pencils, I am getting this off. So if you're using wax-based, this shouldn't happen. Okay, so just lightly touch the drawing. Okay, when you're thinking about all the things that you've written on here, and then trace the spiral clockwise inwards to the center of the flower, and then you put your hands here, and then you breathe in deeply and let it out slowly 3 times. All right, so I hope you feel better after doing this exercise, and I will see you again in the next lesson.